So I'm here with Henry Woodward, and he is going to introduce himself and tell us about his experience with legal aid in Virginia.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm Henry Woodward. I'm presently Senior Attorney of the Legal Aid Society of Roanoke Valley. I have been in this program since 1973. I came to this program from New Jersey, where I had worked for 3 years, and came here as General Counsel. I just stepped back 3 years ago in favor of my friend and colleague David Beidler, so I could do some law and let him take care of the fundraising. To go back to the beginning, I'm a fourth generation lawyer in my family, and I have every reason to be very establishment, I guess. My great-grandfather was a judge, my grandfather was a Commonwealth attorney, my father was a city attorney, and all of them believe very strongly in public service. So that put me in a slightly different direction, I suppose, but is a foundation for where I am.
Do you find that being a part of the legal aid community has put you sort of in step with that family history, or have you ever found yourself slightly opposing?
Well, that's a good question, and the answer is it depends on when you're talking about. I feel right now very much a part of the bar establishment here in Roanoke, and I think legal aid lawyers generally in Roanoke are in that position. But when I first came here in 1973, that was certainly not the case, nor was it the case in my practice in New Jersey for those 3 years. We were very much at that time part of the counterculture, and we looked like it, and we thought like it, and we acted like it. And it was not a way to win friends and influence people among the bar, but it was, I think, appropriate response to the circumstances of those days. There was just so much that was wrong and so much opportunity to do it better that you had to be willing to ruffle a few feathers every now and then to do it.
Let's take the opportunity to go into that now. Would you speak a little about what some of those opportunities to change things were?
Sure. Well, let me start in New Jersey, because that's where I really began to be a legal aid lawyer. I had been in the Peace Corps between law school and legal aid, and I sort of stumbled into legal aid because I couldn't get any sort of an interview from way out in the Pacific where I was stationed, and the Reginald Heber Smith Fellowship Program didn't require one, and so I could just send in an application and hope to be put somewhere interesting. And to my surprise, instead of being some glitzy place like New York or Boston, I was sent to Newark. And that was shortly after the Newark riots in 1967, I think. And the situation in Newark was very stark. I mean, there were steel burned buildings on every hand, and clearly had a great deal to do with the extremes of poverty in that city and the surrounding area. So it was a very exciting place to be, and there was a Supreme Court at that time in New Jersey that was very interested in an active view of the law to address those problems. So it was an exciting place to be. And the people I worked with in Newark were real exciting leaders in impact litigation, and exposed me to a lot of stuff. The first case I got thrown at me took me to the New Jersey Supreme Court and established a significant precedent in application of class action law to consumer civil matters. And I was hooked. I was hooked after that because it was just so exciting and so much interesting stuff to be done. And the work involved not just legal forays, but also a lot of kind of field experience with poor people. I remember, for instance, in my Newark days that we were assisting the Newark Housing Authority tenants in a rent strike it seemed like it went on forever. but it was for several years where they were trying to remedy really bad maintenance problems in the New Jersey and Newark Housing Authority's maintenance of its properties. And it was a messy business, and eventually some of my cohorts got sanctioned for contempt for their inability to control their runaway clients in that case. A sanction which was later lifted on appeal, but it was very rough and tumble sort of stuff, and a lot of exciting law. And the people I was working with, I think, were really an inspiration. In one of those, one of the cases in which I helped with some briefing, we represented the cab driver whose arrest led to the Newark riots.
Wow.
He had been subsequently convicted of some trivial misdemeanor offense, which he shouldn't have been convicted of. And we ended up securing a decision in the Third Circuit that found the New Jersey and Newark, specifically Newark, system for selection of juries to be gender and race-based discrimination.
Wow.
So, and that case went through, I think, probably 5 levels of state and federal court before it finally reached that conclusion. So, pretty exciting stuff. And it was on every hand because so many parts of the law that impacted poor people in particular were just so badly thought out or so badly done.
And did you find yourself getting a wide level of expertise because you had to do so many different things?
Well, of course, like everybody who gets out of law school, or got out of law school then, I had no idea what to do about anything. I had some abstract knowledge of legal doctrine, but how to do anything was pretty foreign. The only thing I had any experience with was appellate litigation, curiously enough, because you do some of that in moot court in law school. So I could do that, and but I was clueless about how to try a case, and I did very little of that in the Newark Essex Joint Law Reform Project. So it was a great relief to me, in a sense, when I was able to come to Virginia and actually learn how to do trials, because I had very little practical experience to that point.
And do you think of Virginia Legal Aid as sort of the institution in which you became comfortable? Or do you even think of yourself as comfortable doing
Well, I'm
that?
not comfortable even now at the things I do. I think I'm always aware that, I just don't know enough to do everything quite right. And I think that's helpful because it keeps me on my feet trying to learn how to do things and how to do them better. But I have reached a level where I feel the reward is sufficient compensation for the challenge and the insecurity of being a lawyer.
Brilliant. We might leave it there and then pick up in a moment.